my guest this week, Goodyear Tire D4130. D, if I may call you D. There have been accusations that you simply aren't falling off fast enough. How do you respond? Well, since our friend here isn't talking, I've brought in some help to explain what tire fall off is and why it happens.
At a place like Atlanta, so a 1.5 mile track where it's about a 30-second lap.
We're typically seeing 2 seconds of lap time give up over the course of a run.
An average run on tires might be 40 laps. Typically you'll lose a second over the first 10 to 15 laps and then another second over the rest of the laps. So you'll lose 2 seconds from the start of the run to the end of the run.
Tire fall off is indicated by longer lap times over the course of a run. But what causes tire fall off?
We lose speed during a long green flag run because the drivers just get tired.
We always complain the drivers are getting tired. They say they're not.
No, I'm joking. They don't get tired. They're very well trained.
The biggest thing we see on the stock cars over the course of a green flag run is degradation of the tires.
You'll see a distinct knee in the curve. You've saturated the heat and the pressure and the tire peaks, and then it just starts to fall off slowly from there.
The degradation of the tire is attributable to one thing.
Friction. The F word?
Yep, friction. The force you can't live without. Without friction, there is no grip. But friction has 2 side effects on our tire: heat and wear.
Over the course of a long run at a place like Martinsville with brake heat, it can be 220, 230 degrees on the surface.
250 degrees Fahrenheit and even beyond that.
280, 300 degrees or more.
You go to a place like Charlotte or Atlanta, very high speed track, a lot of speed, a lot of downforce, a lot of lateral G. You know, a tire, while it's running on the track, can be well over 300 degrees.
If the car's moving, they're getting hot.
One of the most important things heat affects is something you don't even see: the pressure of the gas inside the tire. There's an optimal pressure that will give you the most grip, but it's not as easy as simply filling up the tire to that pressure before you put it on the car.
Tire pressure build is basically a direct response for the increase in temperature of the tire. It basically follows the ideal gas law, which states that pressure is proportional to change in volume and change in temperature. We run radial tires, which are very stiff, so the volume doesn't change very much. So as a result, as the temperature increases, so does the pressure.
At most racetracks, on the left side tires, you might see 10 psi buildup from cold to hot, and you might see 20 to 30 psi buildup on the right side tires.
At Dover, you have a lot of vertical load, and it's also a 1 mile track. It's very hard on the tires. Your right front tire there might build up 30 psi over the course of a run.
If at a track we want to be quick early in the run, you may start with more cold pressure because you know that once the tire goes out on the track, it's going to gain pressure.
You have to start them so low to avoid the buildup, but you can't start them too low because you'll have failure.
So you're trying to time when does the tire hit that optimal air pressure.
Rub a piece of wood with sandpaper. They get hot and some of the wood comes off. Well, that's exactly what happens to a tire on a racetrack. Some of the tread is deposited on the track and it improves the track's grip. But all those marbles you see, well, that's what you get when hot tread pieces mixed with track dirt.
Our tires wear out. They lose grip potential.
A new tire today starts with about 5-30 seconds. You make a fuel run in Atlanta, you're down to the fabric. Usually you go about 4 or 5 laps past the rubber.
You'll wear it all the way to 0, and then some, sometimes.
So friction causes heat and wear, and that's what causes tire fall off. It sounds like a bad thing, or is it?
It's funny how the speed changes over a long green flag run in NASCAR versus Formula One or IndyCar.
Formula One, the car gets faster because the tires don't lose grip potential, but they get lighter. So when they get lighter, they get faster.
A Formula One car with a tremendous amount of downforce, the weight burn off of the fuel overcomes the tire fall off. So a Formula One car gets faster over the course of a run. A car in Sprint Cup racing gets slower.
They do, in theory, get faster when they get lighter, but we never find that out because when we're lighter, we're also on older tires. It's very rare that you are low on fuel with brand new tires on the car. It's very rare.
And it's probably something that differentiates the sport from many of the other top racing series in the world.
Tire fall off is one of the most beautiful things in NASCAR. That's what makes racing so much fun.
And it affects the strategy dramatically from what you'd see in a Formula One or an IRL races.
Back in the day, and see Richard Petty running at Darlington 15 or 20 years ago, their tire fall off could have been 2 or 3 seconds a lap, which equates to 30, 40, 50 seconds over a fuel run. That would force a crew chief to come down pit road, force a guy to put on fresh tires, involve the pit crews, jumble up the field. It really made racing a whole lot better.
Well, that's tire fall off. And while it's bad news for our friend the tire, it's good news for race fans because it adds an element of strategy you simply don't find in other forms of motorsports.